County. It is Wednesday, the 25th day of April, 2018. It is 9 a.m. I'm going to ask Gary Williamson if he would to lead us in the invocation, and then we'll be led in the prayer of pledge to the U.S. and the Texas flags. Would you please stand?
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to gather today for the benefit of the County of Grimes. Bless these people as they make the proper decisions, and these commissioners and this judge, that they look after our interests as well, best they can. And Lord, please look after all of our first responders, that they may be safe in whatever they are doing at that particular time. And Lord, also bless all of our armed forces personnel. If it were not for them, we would not be able to have this meeting today. It's in your son's name we pray. Amen.
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 To the U.S. flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Would you be seated, please? We'll now move to consent agenda items number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. Consider and take action to approve the treasurer's list of claims and bills. Agenda item 4, approved monthly report submitted by the county treasurer for March 2018. Agenda item 5, receive and approve Grimes County first quarter investment report for the period ending March 31, 2018, and agenda item number 6, approved minutes of previous Commissioners Court meetings, special meeting on April 4, special meeting on April 11th, public hearing on April 11th, and those are attached. Oh, number 2 is always a good idea, yes. Now that our county attorney has arrived, we will take the agenda in order. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mary Ann. Are there any public comments? You made me go back to it. There should be public comments. I'll make one on behalf of the Plantersville community. This Saturday, they're having their annual Crawfish Festival. If you buy your wristband before Friday, they're $30 a person. And if you buy it on the day of the event or at the event, they're $35 a person. And I do know those funds go to Plantersville scholarships for students and keeping the Plantersville Town Hall in its pristine condition.
It's also done by, isn't it, it's not the Friends of Grimes County, but there's Plantersville Stone and Bunch is the ones who actually do the crawfish thing, and they are the ones that get these proceeds, but they do scholarships, and they give to other organizations within the county,
Absolutely.
not just scholarships.
Yeah, so it's, the money's not just held on the south end, it's spread throughout.
And they buy animals at the fair also.
Yeah.
And it is all you can eat. It goes for 4 or 5 hours, so most people can eat quite a bit in that period of time.
Definitely get
It's
your $30.
all day long.
Definitely get $30 worth of crawfish.
Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, we will now move to consent agenda items 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they've been stated. Is there anything, Ms. Trent, that you'd like to say extraordinary about our investment report?
On our investment report, we do have another individual that has agreed to be our fourth committeeman, and that will be placed on the agenda for your approval next commissioner's court.
Okay.
If there are no further discussions, I make the motion that we approve consent agenda items 3, 4, 5, and 6.
I second the motion.
There's a motion before the court by Commissioner Walker to approve consent agenda items 3, 4, 5, and 6. There's a second by Commissioner Dobianski. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 7, consider and take action to approve the replat of King Oak subdivision, section 1, that realigns lot 29, 1.24 acres, and lot 30, 1.56, that should read 1.58 acres, to be redesignated as lot 29R, 1.25 acres, and lot 30R, 1.56 acres. Mr. Lilly.
Yes, Judge, Commissioners, as we discussed just a little bit ago in the public hearing, this is a little different from our normal replats. This is not combining lots. It's simply realigning a portion of the two lots where 0.01 acres from lot 30 is being granted to the 1.25 acres of lot 29. And I did discuss with the engineer about the lost 0.01 acre. He is going to provide a statement explaining how that was a rounding error for our record. I'll get that. I should get that today.
Does anyone have a problem with that rounding error? I mean, like I said, I think it's carried, you carry it out to the third decimal, it kinda has that tendency sometimes.
As long as we get some justification from the architect, I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
There's no further discussion. I move to approve the replat of King Oak subdivision, section 1, that realigns lot 29 and 30 and redesignate as lot 29R and 30R.
I second the motion.
There's a motion before the court to approve agenda item number 7 by Commissioner Mallett, second by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Agenda item number 8, consider and take action to approve the joint resolution reestablishing an interjurisdictional emergency management plan with the cities of Anderson, Bedize, Iola, Todd Mission, and Plantersville, and authorize the county judge as signatory. See attachment number 8. Is that what you had
That's
to
the
me, though?
original I provided you there.
Okay. Mr. Foltz, is it appropriate in these situations to read the interlocal in its entirety?
Sure. If you want to, it's up to you as a court.
I read it.
You've read it?
I've read it.
You've read it? Have you read it, sir? Commissioner Mallett?
Yes, sir.
We will foregoing the reading of the interlocal agreement, since the commissioners have all read it.
Judge, I'd like to give a little background on this too.
Thank
so that
you.
everybody-
Would you like to read it?
I don't need to read it. This particular agreement, this interlocal agreement or resolution is predicated on every 5 years we have to update our emergency management plan. And this ties directly to our establishing eligibility for grants, but also shows that we are, taking the proper measures to identify hazards in the county and have measures in place to respond to those. This plan, the basic plan, is what we're approving the joint resolution for today, but it also incorporates our 22 annexes. Those are already up to date. The basic plan is what we're updating as of, assuming you approve this resolution today, it'll be updated as of today and be good for another 5 years. And all the cities, I have engaged with the mayors of those cities, and they have passed their own resolutions already. I have copies of those. I can provide those to you later. I didn't bring them with me today. But they have already signed resolutions from the various cities approving. And that basically states that they accept our plan as theirs and that I function as their emergency management coordinator.
And they're okay to have me as their emergency management director,
I would hope so.
and Commissioner Walker in my absence?
Yes.
Okay.
If there are no further questions, I make the motion that we approve the joint resolution reestablishing an interjurisdictional emergency management plan with the cities of Anderson, Bedize, Iola, Todd Mission, and Plantersville, and authorize the county judge as signatory.
Second.
There is a motion before us to approve agenda item number 8 by Commissioner Walker, second by Commissioner Mallett. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Go to agenda item number 9. Review and approve the final plat and variance requested regarding depth to width ratio of lots for Reagan Estates subdivision. Mr. Lilly?
Yes, sir. The developer for Reagan Estates several months ago brought a preliminary plat before the Commissioner's Court, and it was approved. They have responded to Mr. Walker and myself on the concerns that we had. These were minor as far as corrections that needed to be made on the plat, and they also requested a variance of the depth to width ratio of the lots, similar to what we just had recently with Reagan Estates. Different developer, but similar circumstances. So I have that plat in hand, and it is, I believe it's, ready for.
Would you remind me what commissioner's precinct that is in?
If it's 2988, is this?
Yeah, it's in the Whitehall area, so.
That's yours.
I was,
I remember when we looked at the plot, because some of them were a little more rectangular and some of them were more square.
yeah, and part of that's driven by the fact that there are some flood zones intersecting through that property, so they tried to divide it in a way to where it would maximize the usability of the land on the lots and minimize the impact of the flood zones on the lots. It's also designed for large lots too, just like similar
Yeah, they're 10
to
acre
Horseshoe
lots.
Estates.
And our road and bridge engineer, Mr. Walker was okay with all of that also.
Yes.
We could probably reevaluate some of our subdivision ordinances regarding large acreages and that lot ratio probably. Yeah.
Seems to be a trend going
Yeah,
that way right now. So
absolutely.
not just in our county, I've heard from other counties that larger lots are finding a more ready market than smaller lots right now.
Absolutely. And there's no need for that ratio for a large lot.
I have no objection. Is there any further discussion? Can I make the motion that we approve the final plat and variance requested regarding depth to width ratio of lots for Reagan Estates subdivision?
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Walker to approve agenda item number 9. We have a second by Commissioner Dobianski. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We will go to number 10, although I didn't see Amanda show up. Agenda item number 10 is consider and take action to approve proclamation designated the month of April. Oh, okay. As Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Grimes County and authorize the county judge as signatory. See attachment number 10. And I met Ms. Gomez last week, and I didn't recognize the face out there. So would you identify yourself for the court, please?
I'm Martha Garcia Alberstini. I'm the executive director of the Sexual Assault Resource Center, and, that covers this area as well.
Are you Martha's boss?
No, I'm Amanda's boss.
Amanda's boss, okay.
I'm Martha, the boss, I guess you could say.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, Amanda was going to be here, but we had to switch up, and she's in the on-camera.
And that's fine. And my compliments to her on her presentation skills.
Thank you.
So we do have a joint, which one was it, number 10?
10,
Yeah,
mhm.
we do have a resolution, proclamation, and I believe it would be appropriate for us to read this one.
Yes, please.
Any volunteers? Commissioner Cox? No? All right, I will read.
Yeah, I don't mind.
The proclamation reads, whereas the effects of sexual assault go far beyond the physical and victims often develop a number of psychological conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorder and depression affecting families, friends, and Texas communities, spurring fear, anger, and a sense of vulnerability. And whereas few survivors of sexual violence seek help immediately after victimization due to shame or the fear of not being believed. To end sexual assault, we must alleviate these fears and begin by believing. And whereas members of a caring society, members of communities across the state of Texas must unite to remove the stigma of rape, and the Brazos Valley community must continue the dialogue stated by the Sexual Assault Resource Center in their places of work, schools, and homes. And whereas each year, the month of April provides an opportunity for Sexual Assault Resource Center and rape crisis centers across the state to renew their commitments to serve their communities. Educational efforts also intensify, which ensures that Texans are aware of the sexual assault services available in their area. And now, therefore, we as Commissioners Court of Grimes County do hereby designate April 2018 as Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month in Grimes County. Okay? And I would, your organization goes with the acronym SARC, SARC. And if there are any community leaders in the audience, I would encourage you to talk to this lady and have them come out and make a presentation to your organization. Just the awareness, I think, is helpful in conjunction with the proclamation that we've just read and we're going to probably approve. It behooves us to have a better understanding of those situations. So again, thank you for your presence. Is there anything else you would like to say?
Just a few things. I know, just so you all know, I do have an educator who is assigned to this county and is here on a weekly basis. She's working with several of the school districts and has done a lot of presentations for them on a regular basis, and we're excited to have her. The other thing we provide is counseling services, and I have been able to, in the last few years, grow our counseling services so that now we have 3 full-time counselors. And one of them does travel into the county when needed. We work with your victims coordinator here for the county, and she comes in and meets with them when possible. And some of them also come to Bryan College Station because they want to try to have a little bit more privacy. And they come there for counseling groups that we now have 6 counseling support groups for them. So we've been working really hard to grow the services and to make sure that we are able to, that you are able to access those services when needed. I did add some service cards out to the board this morning, and so you'll have cards, and they're small cards that you can keep in your hand or in your wallet, so that hopefully it's never for you, but somebody that you know, you can get them the help that they need as soon as possible. But we thank you for all the support that Grimes County gives to us in throughout the year, and really appreciate that, and just say thank you and reach out. Our numbers are growing. I will say in 2016 we served 566 people that were new clients to us. In 2017 we served 811. And this year, just through March the 30th, we have 255 clients, new clients. Those are not repeat clients.
Can you repeat that number again?
We're at, which one?
For this year?
For this year, we're already served 255 new clients. I believe that part of the movement and empowerment, as you said, is awareness. I hope and pray that it is not that we're seeing an increase in crime as our populations are growing. I think what we're seeing is people being encouraged to come forward and say, I need help, and take care of things. Many of the women and men who are coming forward are survivors of childhood sexual assault. And they're finally seeking help, realizing that they need it in order to move on with their lives. And so, again, our services are for anyone, ages 13 and up. We support Scotty's House and what they do. There are some young people that just prefer to come to us. And anyway, I just want to again say thank you. And,
Thank you.
and we appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Judge, I'd make a motion that we, approve a proclamation designating month of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Grimes County and authorize you as a signatory to that.
All right.
Well, this proclamation has all of our
Signature, we'll all sign that.
Okay.
I second it.
There's a motion before the court to approve agenda item number 10 by Commissioner Cox, a second by Commissioner Walker. There's no further discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will sign that at the conclusion of this meeting. Agenda item number, just one other point, just so the citizens know, the county does make a financial contribution to SART, and we have in the past, and it's something we'll review through the budget season this year as we go into that budget season, but your tax dollars are going to support that organization. Agenda item number 11, consider and take action to approve proclamation designating April 29, 2018 through May 6, 2018 as Soil and Water Stewardship Week in Grimes County, and authorize the county judge as signatory or attachment number 11. And this reads, Soil and Water Stewardship Week 2018 proclamation. Whereas fertile soil and clean water provide us with our daily sustenance, and whereas effective conservation practices have helped provide us a rich standard of living, and whereas our security depends upon healthy soil and clean water, and whereas stewardship calls for each person to help conserve these precious resources. Therefore, we do hereby proclaim April 29 through May 6, 2018 as Soil and Water Stewardship Week in Grimes County. Is D. Abrams here? No.
I move to approve the proclamation designating April 29th, 2018 through May 6, 2018 as Soil and Water Stewardship Week in Grimes County. Looks like all of our signatures on this one as well.
Second.
Okay. There's a motion before the court for to approve agenda item number 11 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Cox. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
May I add that we, our landowners receive federal dollars to do projects through this water conservation district. We used to have an individual district in the county, but they've combined those in several different counties now, but we still get money from them.
Mr. Zimmerman, I see you front and center for agenda item number 11. If you'll approach the podium, I'll read the agenda item.
Okay.
Consider and take action to appoint Alan Homan. Homan or Homan? Homan, okay. Alan Homan as Grimes County Extension Agent, Agriculture and Natural Resources, effective May 9, 2018, at the current salary with the travel allowance as budgeted. Mr. Zimmerman,
Thank you, Judge.
good to have you here this morning.
Glad to be back in Grimes County. I've been through quite a bit lately, just on my new profession and new role as the District Extension Administrator for Southeast District 9, covering counties from Giddings all the way to Orange. And so-
Trained you well and got you promoted, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's my pleasure today to present to the court Mr. Alan Homan as our finalist for the vacant county agent position for Ag and Natural Resources. Alan earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Animal Science and a Master of Science degree in General Agriculture from Sam Houston State University. While he was attending SAM, he was active in the Children's Barnyard, student tours, Texas Trophy Hunters, as well as Ducks Unlimited. For the past 2 years, Alan served as the county extension agent for Ag and Natural Resources in Jefferson County, Beaumont, Texas. Prior to beginning his career with Extension, he worked for 10 years as a general laborer for Triple H Farms in Franklin, Texas. This farming operation included beef cattle, hay, and swine production. And in this role, he maintained and repaired equipment, operated machinery for custom hay baling, he handled hay sales, and he handled the testing of all the hay samples. While growing up in Franklin, Texas, he was active in 4-H for 10 years.
He was active in FFA for 4 years and competed in poultry, swine, rabbit, commercial heifer, and food and nutrition projects. He also served as the FFA chapter conducting team, or on that chapter conducting team, and served in leadership roles with his 4-H club and FFA chapter. Additionally, while he was in high school, he was very active in sports of cross country, track, and basketball, as well as serving as the team captain. It's my pleasure to present to the court Mr. Alan Holman.
Good. Good to have you on board. Just in time for the fair.
And to that point, you know, it's taken just a bit longer than ideal in terms of filling this position, but certainly it's my role, well, my goal in this new role is to not just fill positions in District 9 with warm bodies, is to fill positions with people that are gonna do a very good job, that have got some history with extension and some knowledge of agriculture and youth programs, and so I think Alan's gonna do an outstanding job.
And Franklin's not far up the road, so you.
To his point, he's glad to be closer to home versus on that Louisiana border.
Sounds like he'll fit right in Grimes County.
Yes, he will.
It's good to have you on board.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I like,
Well, not yet on board. We'll take care of that in a moment.
I'd like to make that motion to approve Alan Holman,
Yes.
Holman,
Just like
as,
it.
as Grimes County, Extension Agent, Agriculture and Natural Resources, effective May 9th, 2018, at the current salary with travel allowance as budgeted.
I second the motion.
We have a motion before the court, agenda item number 12 by Commissioner Walker, a second by Commissioner Dobianski. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Now welcome on board. Okay? All right.
Congratulations.
Judge, Commissioner, I know that y'all got a few more items on the agenda. If it's okay with you guys, we certainly appreciate being excused.
You are excused and go to work.
To get Alan's paperwork handled, but also we've got some stops, and unlike in the past, kind of me being the guy that's getting replaced by this guy, I wanted to show him around, introduce him to a few people.
That's
kind of
great.
Give him some ins and outs of the county while we're on
Alan, you're way
our
behind.
time. So
Hit the ground running. Okay.
I'm gonna do my best to catch up.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
I'll get
you.
some press release over here, we'll leave as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
We will continue to move forward to agenda item number 13. Commissioner Mallett, consider and take action to modify the architectural services contract with PGAL for the Justice Center.
Mary passed out a handout for us. My printer was down, so I wasn't able to print it off. PGAL presented that they would like to kind of streamline who they're working with as far as subcontractors, and would like DBR, which is the mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers, to perform the IT, acoustics, and security, and eliminate 4B, which is the added basic services, 4B, acoustics, IT, AV, security. So that those duties will be performed by DBR.
Eliminate who?
4B. Those duties, they're under scope of services, added basic services.
And DBR
Will perform those duties.
okay. I'd also like to say at this time, if we're making amendments to the contract, it still reads Commissioner Hudspeth.
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't it be proper to go ahead and, since Commissioner Cox is Commissioner Hudspeth's replacement?
Well, I guess this is a proposal addressed to us. I don't know if it
Back then.
really says anything about true context in the contract.
It does.
Yes,
It does.
1.1.7.
Okay, okay,
Who the representatives are for the county.
okay. What did it say on there? I have it on my phone.
You want my copy?
It was 1.1.
1.1.7.
page 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that now. Who would like to volunteer? Mr. Cox?
I'd be glad to sit
Okay.
in.
All right. We will change that as well.
Those are the only modifications?
Yes, that I'm aware of.
Commissioner Walker, do you see anything else?
No, that's it.
I'm, yeah, I move to modify the architectural services contract with PGAL, for the Justice Center, to include, replacing Gary Husfeld with, Philip Cox. And, the added basic services of acoustics, IT, and AV security will be performed by DBR.
I second the motion.
Is there any further discussion? We have a motion before the court, agenda item number 13 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Go to agenda item number 14. Discuss and take action to recognize 2 departments by consolidating 911 and environmental departments into 1 department. See attachment 14. In my boldness as new to the county judge position, I started gathering some ideas and recommendations, court, to possibly take 2 departments and combine them into 1, with the possibility of only having 1 department head. And as I got my feet wet, I found out this was really Commissioner Walker's area of responsibility, and,
Act as liaison, just
right.
as this commissioner's court
Interesting,
as a whole.
Commissioner's Court.
So, on that, I backed off a little bit, and Commissioner Walker has worked with Cat Lee, on this, and I've also been involved with it, but Commissioner Walker, do we want Cat to come up
Yes.
and share her idea? Is she here? Yes. Very good.
I'd also like you to share your reasoning and your thought behind it,
Okay.
because after giving it some thought, it made a lot of sense, about the silos.
Okay. Coming out of the business world into the government world, I've found that things are very different in some respects. Some areas are very similar, and one of the things that I became aware of, or seemed to be aware of, is that within the Grimes County, we have a department head, and that department head very strongly focuses on their area and their duties and responsibilities, and I get that. But then you have another department head focusing on their duties and areas of responsibilities, and they're kind of working in these silos, if you will, and never cross channels. And it was my thought that since we had a resignation coming our direction, which was a department head, and we already had a very competent department head, maybe there's a possibility of taking these 2 silos, just making them into a bigger silo, if you will, and I don't really like that term, but the idea was to combine these 2 department heads, let 1 department head oversee the talent in those areas, and then have the ability to do some cross-training. And my comment was, I'm not looking to make the county jobs into sweatshop jobs by people, working hard all day long, but really working more efficiently and also spending the tax dollars more efficiently. So some conversation with the remaining department head, she was able to put her thoughts to it, and we've put together some organizational charts as to how we were as 2 departments and how we're considering to bring it together as 1 department. and there's some dollar savings in there. We are anticipating though, and stop me where I'm wrong, Kat, but we're anticipating we would want to bring in a part-time person to help with some of the clerical work that would be done by combining these departments, but also as the departments are able to do more, there's an opportunity to bring in more revenue from the area of the $15 charge for septic systems maintenance, okay? And that's been newly instituted within the county, so that's a collection process and capturing those dollars. Also, and what I wasn't aware of, is that the solid waste sites were connected to the environmental, and now that I know, it makes perfectly good sense, but those are all only open at particular times, but it's also a revenue generator for the county to the tune of a profit, because we collected about, I was furnished some numbers this morning that I've already lost. Anyway, there's about $17,000 in excess, something like that, from what we receive on selling the trash bag tickets, and then what we pay the waste company to dispose of those trash bags. We are ahead of the game. Oh, here it is. Sorry. Next time, point. Okay. More directly. Okay. Currently, on the aerobic systems, they're 2,125, and the collection on that potential is $31,875. The revenue from the solid waste for 2016 through 2017, we collected $94,750 from the sale of the tickets that people have to put on their bag to dispose of the trash, and then we paid the waste disposal company $77,000. So we made $17,000 on solid waste. We potentially collect $31,875 on the aerobic systems. You put those two together, those two profits, we're almost at $49,000. So anyway, by having two department heads in those two areas, eliminating one of those department heads, somebody would replace the department head, but as a technical worker, not as a department head, will save about $11,000 in pay over the other department head. And now the one department head, if you're still with me, has flexibility to cross-train employees within all of those areas, maybe do a little better, easier job of vacation scheduling, sick time scheduling, and all of that, because she now has more people to work with. And Kat Lee would be or Dornack? Lee. Kat Lee would be the remaining existing department head.
And I'd like to chime in on that.
Please.
Kat has, since
Since I worked here?
no. Since you worked as a DR. So you have she is
I've
a
had my
licensed
license
DR.
since, I think 2006 maybe?
Okay, and she's always been backup for the environmental department. And it just made sense that as our county continues to grow, so do the inspections, so do the reports, so does the garbage. Also,
Solid waste.
solid waste, I'm so sorry. And the sofas and all of the stuff on the side of the road. As those as a county, as we continue to grow, we also have GIS mapping that's growing with the addressing. And so the intention of bringing on a part-time person would be somebody that can learn GIS mapping. We have a worker there, she is through Experience Work, but she is a senior citizen, and we want to get somebody in there that we can train, that can go from this department to that department, so that there's everybody kind of knows a little bit about each other's jobs, so that if one is out, somebody else can fill in that role, because I don't think we're slowing down in growth, and so I know that her role as GIS mapping, also she's working with the sheriff department, the city of Navasota, all of the election administrator, there are so many tasks that 911 addressing department does. So it makes sense to not just rely on one person, but to kind of spread that knowledge amongst all of our workers and give them an incentive to wanna rise and, you know, learn some things and do better. So, we're hoping, that this will, inspire, other people to wanna, learn and become DRs or GIS mappers. So I think it's a good move, and I appreciate you for bringing the idea, you know, to the forefront.
Thank you.
And
Do the auditors have anything to add? Because y'all have done some research on salaries of what it is, what it will be, and things of that sort. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but
So the paper that I handed you this morning before Commissioners Court, it just gives a rundown on fiscal year 2018, how much money we would need, additional money we would need to fund a part-time position, a new part-time position. The bottom half would be fiscal year 2019. That amount will be different because you will have it for the entire year instead of for a portion of the year. If you have any questions.
so in order to bring this person on this year, you're saying the difference would be the 18-15
32.
for this budget cycle?
Yes, ma'am.
For them
And
to
then
start
you would-
this budget
Yes, ma'am. And then Commissioners Court would need to be prepared to have 3,000 for next year, just because of the salary reduction in the coordinator's position. That helps alleviate some of that.
But I do wanna point out that, with you combining the two departments, I don't know what y'all may have discussed on compensation for, Ms. Lee. But if there's gonna be additional compensation for Ms. Lee, then these figures will change too.
sure.
Well, we appreciate your making it very plain and clear to us. We're hoping that, you know, with the new hire of the assistant that's gonna float from department to department, that we'll be able to answer our citizens' needs a lot faster than we have been, and that paperwork will start decreasing. And so we haven't really talked much. We want to see the numbers that you had as far as Ms. Lee, but thank you for this.
One of the things, I was when I was looking at this as far as, okay, going from 2 department heads to 1 department head, trying to make it more efficient, and then the part-time the additional part-time, I'm like, oh, I'm not necessarily looking to grow the personnel, but something that was brought to my attention from Kat was that as it is now, there's a real potential for that office to be somewhat vacant. In other words, with a citizen coming in to get information or procedures, there would not be anybody there, or phones wouldn't be answered because there wouldn't be anybody there. I know citizens can leave voicemails and they can call back and we can call them back, but when they go to get a service provided and there's nobody there to provide that service, it's kind of like, what are they doing with my
Or they
tax
don't answer
dollars?
the phone.
Or they don't answer the phone. So when Kat brought to my attention that office would be vacant of personnel, because on some of these inspections, we don't send out one person. It's because of safety and concern to our employee, we're gonna send a second employee to go with them, because they're not always on grassy green slopes of a golf course or something like that. We do have some woods and bushes and critters in the county, so.
And I've even ridden with them so they wouldn't be afraid. But I also want to bring that in the new budget cycle, we were also talking about the weights and, is it called weights and?
Weights officer.
Weights officer. A lot of times we have to enforce complaints with our environmental coordinator. And hopefully this person will be able to also help us handle those and enforce those. Of course, our sheriff department has been so kind to help us out, but we know that their duties are increasing also, and they're not always available to run at that time when we need them. But that could be another duty that helps us enforce, because you can write a letter all day long, but people just ignore it, you know, maybe, once they see an officer there, they will respond to the request to do something about their waste.
Kat, would you, just for everybody's information, the court, explain DR?
DR means designated representative for TCEQ.
And would you tell them what TECQ is, please?
That is the
Texas Environmental
Commission.
Quality.
Commission on Environmental Quality.
Texas
The
Commission
old
of
T and
Environmental Quality.
RTC.
We are, to become a DR, you do have to be licensed, you have to take a test, you have to pass that test to be licensed. And with those licenses, we are able to enforce the rules and regulations from TCEQ regarding solid waste and environmental complaints. And in our office, that's what we do. We have new installs come in, we have to look over those plans and issue permits to construct. Then we go out and inspect everyone to make sure that they are done properly. And then in environmental complaints, that also gives us the knowledge to go forth with those complaints as raw sewage running on the ground and those sorts of things.
And as you stated, or as you shared with the court, we have currently 2,125 of those aerobic systems
Yes.
that
those
we
are-
know of.
Yes, those are just aerobic systems. Those don't include all of our conventional systems, drip emitters and other systems that we have.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, are there any other questions or thoughts?
In my mind, it does present the opportunity for a more streamlined, efficient approach to provide a process for the taxpayers and improve our product to them. And the additional cost is marginal when you compare it to the figures that you brought to our attention earlier. So, I mean, in my mind, it would be a pretty good move.
Plus, I believe the previous department head was stating the fact of needing additional personnel prior to this as well to increase that, the collections for maintenance and everything like that.
That was on her radar.
Yeah.
The only concern I have with doing this, and I'm not against putting it under one umbrella, is as we grow, we're gonna be getting more complaints with the sewage. And those sewage complaints are very difficult to process. We've gone, I've had a number of them, and I know Marissa's worked diligently on them. You send out letters and letters and letters, and we don't get anything done. We write citations and sell the property, and then you have to start all over to do that again. I don't want our process to get lost, and we've got to start prosecuting some of these people to make them, show them that we are serious in stopping this illegal dumping, because we have it in numerous areas in the county, and we've got to do that.
We have a solid county attorney that could represent us well in court.
I'd also like to add that, not only with this position, you, not only are you overseeing 3 budgets, but you're also overseeing 2 full-time employees and 8 part-time employees, so that's quite a bit. Yeah.
About
3 full-time and 8 part-time employees. So there's a lot of financial audits that have to be done on a weekly basis, at our dump sites to make sure that everything is accurate and accurately reported.
And we coordinate with BB-COG on this too.
Yes.
Yes.
That's Fridays or Thursdays?
Fridays.
Fridays, okay.
Fridays is my call day. Yes, 911 does receive a reimbursement grant from COG for 911 services.
Ms. Pope, as our HR director, do you have any issues with what we've talked
I
about?
don't have any issues.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
Is there a motion before the court?
I'll make a motion. I'll make the motion that we take action to reorganize two departments by consolidating 911 and environmental departments into one department.
Second.
There's a motion before the court, agenda item number 14 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Mallett. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 15, Road and Bridge. Consider and take action to allow Road and Bridge to go out for bids on asphalt and emulsions. Mr.
That
Walker?
time again already.
Good morning, everyone. Item 15, our asphalt and emulsions bid was set up on a 6-month cycle because of fluctuation in the prices. So it's time to go out to bids on that contract again, and we're just asking for permission to do so at this time.
The prices are going up?
Always.
We are,
The good news is the last contract over the last 6 months we didn't use, so it's the winter, we're not doing much in the way of that type of
Right.
paving, so the previous 6 months was kind of just a paper exercise.
Mhm.
This
Okay.
one will be used.
I move to allow Road and Bridge to go out for bids on asphalts and emulsions.
I second.
There's a motion before the court, agenda item number 15 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda item number 16, consider and take action to allow Road and Bridge to go out for bids for head wall and wing wall construction on county roads 141 and 404 culverts.
This is a continuation of our project that we've been discussing. We got those box culverts off the 408 project. We went ahead and installed the structure up on 141 this past week. About ready to open that back up. But we want to go ahead and add wind walls, a head wall on that structure. And then we'll want to go ahead and do the culvert structure with head walls and wind walls on 404. We haven't started that other than demolition yet. But we're asking for permission to go out for bids on those two. It'll be in one contract, it'll be two different project sites.
The one contractor would take care of 141 and 404?
Yes.
What commissioner's area is this in, precinct?
141 is precinct 1, 404 is 2, I believe.
That's mine.
no,
Four. Are the roads numbered that way? 1, 2, 3, and 4?
No,
almost,
some of them are, some of them.
Sort of.
almost.
That'd been clever if that's the way we'd have done it.
I think probably way back they were, and then when the.
And we got more than 5 roads, they.
No, when they changed the realignment,
Yeah.
they changed,
'Cause most of my roads are threes, most of his are fours, most of yours are twos.
I've got ones, twos, and
Ones,
threes and
twos.
fours. Yeah, I've got all.
I didn't mean to get you off track, I'm sorry.
No, but that's a good question, because a lot of people think that when they see that number. I get calls for different roads all the time.
Experience will teach me to shut up. Is there a motion before us?
Yeah, I move that we, take action to allow Road and Bridge to go out for bids for head wall and wing wall construction on county roads 141 and 404 culverts.
Second.
There is a motion before the court, agenda item number 16, made by Commissioner Cox, seconded by Commissioner Mallett. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Road and Bridge report, sir.
A lot of activity this past week on the 141 project. We moved in the culverts, had them placed, backfilled the project site. We're putting in some temporary guardrails now and getting ready, getting that road dressed up to
Hope Dope, we open that tomorrow. And then the follow on that, the town of Bedice has asked us to go ahead and pave that road. So we'll be working on covering some ditches there over the next few weeks and get that chip seal later on this summer. We've also been working on going through and trying to do our cleanup work after Center Point's project is winding down. We put in asphalt overlays on a number of the roads that they were utilizing. This is money that they provided to make those repairs. We're kind of following behind them, trying to dress things up there, so we concentrate on that. We've got one more of the asphalt streets to do, 313. The rest of the asphalt work has been done related to Center Point, and we are working on some of the rock work as well.
Did we do 311 on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead, no, wait a minute. 311.
Comes off.
313, I know we're still waiting on them to finish. 311, they may not be quite done there yet either.
Okay. That's coming off of 105.
Right. They're still working a little bit in that area, so those are the ones that haven't been finished yet.
Okay.
And then most of the rock roads are still remaining. Elsewhere, Great Oak Crew has been busy. They provided a lot of the work on the 141 project. Side Ditcher has been busy as well. We're up to 127 miles of ditch work so far this year. That's working really well. We did, as in association with the 141 project, we've been doing preliminary inspections on the 408 project. TxDOT has just reopened that bridge structure. The project is a little bit of cleanup work, things still to do. But the road is back open and they are using the new bridge. 190 is still a few weeks away. That'll be finished up here probably in early May, the way it looks like. So we'll be done with those projects here shortly. Elsewhere, we're continuing to work with the General Land Office on the grant package for 201, 202 Pine Brook. They have awarded us that grant, but they're continuing to ask questions and get some clarifications on the scope of work. So we haven't had a kickoff meeting with them yet. Just trying to get all the I's dotted and T's crossed on that. And then I'm also working on doing the permit application for the oil and gas waste disposal site up on Highway 30. Sheree was able to get me a copy of the application. It's like financial specs. It takes a while to go through it.
Has the county attorney received that?
I don't believe so.
Do you want to?
I don't believe so.
Should you?
I'll be happy to look at it. I mean, we're up against a circumstance where Railroad Commission, I think it's the Railroad Commission, is the body that regulates it. It's not so much about whether we have the right to regulate, it's a question of whether we have the right to object, and I think, or protest, and I think that's the issue. And so, if you want to protest that based upon the policy of having that thing in place, it seems to me that all of you would want to read it as well.
I had a question about it. Is there any chance that when we brought in Twin Oaks, is this across the street from Twin
Right
Oaks?
across the road.
Is that part of Twin Oaks?
I don't know that legally they're related. I don't
Okay.
believe it is.
Do we have any, restrictions in place as to what can come into the county, just like Twin Oaks waste sites?
No, we couldn't stop it. You may recall there was litigation between various folks who objected to Twin Oaks and the Trant family, who said, you can't tell me what to do with my property. And effectively, I think the Trants were able to establish, you can't tell them what to do with their property. There's some regulatory abilities of the state, not of the county.
Okay, of the state.
Correct.
All right. Well, I just wondered, because I know that one time we discussed that in Grimes County, there are only certain areas that a facility like Twin Oaks can come in after that was established. I thought we, said that is the only area that we would let waste come into the county.
Maybe, but I'm not aware of the county having that, regulatory authority.
Well, we might need to look at it.
I don't believe we have it, but I will be happy to look. I think that's a state issue. We have, as you know, the county has very little ability to regulate businesses or people. And the Constitution and the framers set it up that way. Cities do, and if you want to subscribe to the rules of the corporation, as it were, as a shareholder by a person who lives in the city, then you move to the city. If you don't, you move to the county. And that is, the county has little ability to regulate the conduct of people. And so I'll be happy to look at it, but I'm gonna tell you, I feel strongly it's a regulatory authority of the state.
Well, I don't mean to prolong this, but I'll get with you afterwards, but I was, with what happened in Waller County with the, dump site coming in, I thought at that time when we discussed it that, you know, we didn't have, we had regulations that would prevent another waste or dump from coming into Grimes County, but in that area, so I'd like to find out more about it, so
Me
I'll
too.
talk with you.
Me too.
Yes, 'cause Judge, I don't know the judge in Waller County's name, but
Trey Duhon?
not Trey, but the one prior
I don't know.
that, okay, he lost his job to the dump site, but,
Seems like an odd replacement, but okay.
yeah, but, he spoke to it, so I would like to look into that, about if you don't have regulations in place, you might wanna put them in there.
I would be happy, I'd be all ears.
Okay, thank you.
And they do public notices on that in the paper, do they not?
That's where it
They're
came from.
required.
The public notices are posted in the paper, they send a copy of the application, to the county, and if anybody is interested in it, I do have it electronically now, for railroad commission, so just let me know.
And also thanks, I'm sorry, thanks to the heads up from some of our citizens that saw it too and made us very aware of it, so. You also made us aware of it.
Any questions?
Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 17, consider and take action regarding the burn ban and authorize the county judge as signatory.
It's getting a little drier, but no.
We've had a pretty good amount of rain, and there's more projected,
I should say,
significant
yeah.
amounts, but it's been steady, so.
Up to 30% by Saturday and Sunday. No action. Agenda item number 18, receive any updates on the strategic plan. Commissioners, anybody have anything there?
The Animal Shelter Board is meeting with other individuals and entities in the counties that are doing, taking in animals. On the 17th, on the 24th, Kristen Keeley will be, 24th of May, Kristen Keeley will be presenting our preliminary plan to the court for approval for the shelter.
Make sure that gets on the agenda with Sheree.
Yes.
All right. And I guess we really need to look at that plan now with Commissioner Cox on board and see how heavy we can load him up.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we'll take that as a positive.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then we'll move to agenda item number 19. Thank you, Commissioner Dobianski. Number 19, discuss and take action to approve the reappointment of the following members to the Brazos Valley Homeland Security Advisory Council, HSAC. Those would be David Lilly, Todd Green, Catherine Dornack, or Kat Lee, and Jason Katowski. Kat, how do you want us to officially list your name henceforth?
Lee.
Thank you. Okay. And Mr. Lilly, you helped get this list together, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And this is a smaller list than we have had in the past, is that correct?
We dropped several members. The reason is they were not able to attend on a
Right.
regular basis.
Right.
And that can actually hurt us in the long run when we're showing members that are not showing regular attendance, so.
Right.
And the 4 members that we have on this list will be sufficient to meet the county's needs.
Okay, sir. Commissioners, any questions? Is there a motion before the court?
I move that we approve the reappointment of the following members to the Brazos Valley Homeland Security Advisory Council: David Lilly, Todd Green, Catherine Lee, and Jason Kutkoski.
I'll second it.
Motion before the court on agenda item number 19 by Commissioner Cox, seconded by Commissioner Mallett. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Thank you, folks, for volunteering on that. Agenda item number 20, review, discuss, and take action to address IT help desk issues and needs. We, as a court, and all of us weren't present, but last year made the decision to bring on board an IT director to take it out of the hands of a contractor. And we had a contract with a outside provider that they were going to have, correct me if I'm wrong, and we have Greg Cannon here who's aware of the contract, but they were gonna have a person watching over us and a second person on standby call, ready to help whenever the occasion needed. Since we have brought Mr. Cannon on board, we have separated ourselves from that outside contractor almost 100% or 100%? Okay, we've gotten that taken care of, but the workload for just the one individual has proved to be fairly significant. And I've had a couple of I had one conversation with Greg. I said, give me your heads up. I don't want to come in some morning with a sticky on my door that says, I've enjoyed it, I quit, I'm gone. Because he is an exempt employee, and therefore he's not entitled to overtime, and he's not asking for overtime. He's got plenty of that. He's not asking for more money. He's asking for some help in that area. And I'm not sure what that solution is going to be. Greg, if you want to speak to that, I'd ask you to come to the podium, Mr. Cannon. There are a couple of options that are available to us, but I'll let you take it from here, sir.
Well, just kind of give you a little bit of background, and I appreciate everybody's patience as we move through this process of cleaning up some of the things that we found on the networks and in the IT department in a county that has typically, I've just seen a lot of neglect as I've gone through what we've done. It's just been status quo. Let's just keep things going. Let's don't be proactive, keep things up to date, keep them clean, keep them organized, managed, et cetera. So I appreciate everybody's patience as being one person trying to address everyone's needs. And to the court, the users have been very patient, especially Todd Green and the sheriff's department. They've been very helpful in helping us address some critical things that we went through at the sheriff's office. We had an infestation of viruses about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Todd's group has been very helpful in helping us get that remediated. We're down to just about 3 machines that are left to be affected. But the county as a whole has been very helpful. Having said that, based on ITIL standards, NIST standards for IT, we have about 200 employees approximately in the county, and about 125 of those have devices on the network, computers, laptops, etc. ITIL and NIST say that typically you should have 1 person per every 60 employees. So right now we're about an employee behind, possibly 2. And speaking to Judge LeWan, when I took this position, his vision was, and the commissioners can contest to this, is that he envisioned the department having a greater role, having an IT director, having a network administrator, having a help desk person, so that the director could focus more on long-term vision, the growth in the county, the new building, those kind of things, regulatory. At the same time doing hands-on with the network administrator and letting the desktop support person handle the day-to-day needs, such as I can't print, my printer's broken, those kind of things. So looking at it as a whole and the size of the county and the things that we're up against with viruses, with outdated hardware, with the neglect of the network, those kind of things, I think it would be very advantageous for us. It would be very helpful for me. Like I said, I'm just one person 24/7 on call. There's only so much I can get to. I've got a list here of about 150 items that I've been able to document that we still need to do in the next 2 months. And that's not counting all the day-to-day stuff that I encounter when people can't print or network drives are not attached, to just the day-to-day issues. So I think it would be a benefit to the county, to the residents of the county, if we could get additional help in IT, get some of these issues up, and provide better service for the employees as well as for the residents of the county.
The experience on the viruses, if I misquote you, correct me. You said one of the machines that you were working with had over 5,000 viruses?
I have over 2,500 viruses.
2,500 viruses.
We've remediated about 26,000 viruses so far. As you know with a virus does not want to go detected, so it does everything it can to be not detected. So anytime a new antivirus program comes out, those hackers, they test their viruses against these programs to make sure they're undetected. I think my professional opinion is that some of the viruses were already here. They were either dormant or not being detected by the current antivirus system. So when we put the new antivirus system in place, it detected a lot of those. The cleanup of those viruses had attached themselves to system files, so when we remediated those, it caused those systems to be unstable. And that's what I've been working with Todd in the sheriff's office to correct those issues on those machines that became unstable after we removed the viruses. We've got a few that we're gonna probably have to rebuild from scratch. Like I said, we had over 117 installations of the antivirus. We only had about 15 that were causing us major issues of remediating those viruses, making those machines stable. Some of the viruses were corrupting the software on those machines, making them almost not usable. And that's what we've been struggling with. I've been working with Todd. We've been struggling with a few of those machines in the sheriff's office. But a large part of the county was protected. Viruses were clean and they were unaffected. So I don't want to make it sound like we had a widespread outwork that knocked everything down. We only had about 15 to 20 machines that were dramatically affected, and we reduced those down to about 5. But we had a tremendous amount of viruses.
And you were telling me that some of those viruses literally scar the machine where you get to a certain point and it's not correctable any longer?
Right, they're called rootkit viruses. They
Called what?
Rootkit.
Okay.
I don't know where that name comes from, but
Well, I won't remember, but I just won't.
It connects itself to low-level system files, and this software, it ends up replacing a file that was there. And so when you remove that virus, that file's no longer there, so the system becomes unstable. As everybody's probably aware, over a period of time, no matter how good you treat your machine, at some point, you feel like, I either gotta throw this out the window, or I've gotta erase everything on it and start from scratch. That's just normal. Well, that's what happens when these viruses get on these machines. You may remove the virus, but it's already done its damage, and you may say, my machine's running funny, or it's acting weird. When I click on certain stuff, things happen differently. It's because of that, like you said, that scarring and that damage that's already been done.
Are these viruses that you're talking about, are they allowing any outside hackers or entities come into our network and capture any or some of our information that they should not be getting?
I don't know that. I'm not seeing it, but I am seeing some viruses try to what's called phone home. The virus detection will say you've got an outbound connection of an unknown application type that's trying to send information out, and it blocks it. So we are seeing viruses trying to send stuff out. I don't know if we have. I would suspect that there's probably an instance of 2 where we've had information going out that was unwarranted.
Could it be the Russians?
But you see them from all over, because typically what an IT director will do, we'll try to block, for instance, we try to block all traffic from Russia and China. We have no business with those countries, so we try to block that up front. But what we find is these hackers will then rent servers in the United States and come out from there. And that's much harder to detect because they're in the United States, a trusted endpoint. So.
But you feel at this point fairly comfortable, but that our county information, whether it's legal information or financial information, is fairly secure? Or, I don't even wanna use the word fairly,
Yeah.
is secure.
I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say 100% secure. I feel better about it, but I still feel there's lots that we need to do. And part of these things I have on this list are things that I want to do in place to make sure our data is secure. Whether it's employee information coming from HR, or whether it's jailer information coming from the jail. We don't want this information to get out.
Right.
And so, the things that I have planned here, we still got the firewall that's gonna be going in soon. It'll help, another huge step in blocking everything at the perimeter, so.
So I guess to help clarify, and commissioners, ask your questions also, that if we were able to find the money to allow you to bring somebody else on board, at least for the time being, that would allow them to do some of the smaller spot fires and let you work on major fire prevention, so to speak, if I use that analogy.
Right, that would be one example, that'd be a great example of how we use this additional resource. It would also help provide, in case I'm out, as everybody knows, I was out 3 days last week for a funeral during the middle of this virus infestation.
Right.
If I'm ever have to be out because I'm sick or vacation.
We don't allow that.
It'd be good to have somebody in this role that could act as backup.
Okay. Other questions?
I got a couple of comments.
Sure, please.
You know, I want to compliment the court. I wasn't here whenever they made the decision to hire Greg, and that was the right decision in my mind, to have a dedicated IT person, and Greg was the right person for that. I've had great interactions with Greg as far as IT is concerned. And in my mind, if the county is going to progress, we definitely need to put a lot of emphasis, or at least a lot of consideration, on the IT portion of that. In my mind, it would be beneficial if the taxpayer didn't even necessarily have to come to a particular office, that they could get that information that they needed offline. And I know we're getting way out there right now, but the courts are moving in that direction. Everything is moving in the direction of IT. I even had a conversation last night with a Navasota city councilman, and they, on their place, when they report for a meeting, they don't have paper.
Tablet.
They have tablets. And I mean, the county spends a lot of money on just providing papers for these meetings. So, you know, I know it is an added expense for the county to take on this type of person to assist Greg, but it sounds to me like he's inundated with technical problems that need to be cleared up, and I think some of these other ways we can look at going forward would be cost-saving measures to offset some of the expense of an additional person.
I would like to make one other comment. I have been approached by an employee in the county. He's an employee of the county and has been for 2 years. Has a degree in computer information systems and has expressed an interest in working for the IT department for Grimes County. So he had approached me and asked me if we're looking to expand the department or bring on additional personnel, he would like to be considered for a role in the department for that. So we have somebody in the county that knows the county, knows the processes, knows the people. So I think it would be good if the commissioners did allow it to proceed with this, that we consider this person for that position.
Well, that's certainly an option, certainly an option.
And you say he's already with the county?
Yes, he works in the sheriff's department.
Todd.
It might be
As
Todd.
long as he stays at our office 4 days out of 5 days.
Well, it's better than Greg staying over there 4 out of the 5 days. I'd like to ask the auditors, y'all aren't probably prepared for this, but y'all usually are prepared. And I guess the law issue also, what you can and can't do. Where we've been saving money on software and saving money going to the cloud and saving money on bulk buying of equipment, things of that sort, can you take those kinds of savings and roll them over for payroll purposes, or is that against government rules?
I think you can basically you can assign income from a certain, stream to go to pay for a certain item. Now, you know,
It's not really an income stream, it's a savings that we wouldn't be spending elsewhere, that we would have available under that IT umbrella, but I just didn't know.
Well, I think we would, yeah, I think what I would like to see is an analysis, first of all, to see how much we are saving, so that I can tell you, you know, this is what it's gonna cost you, or we're already saving enough here that you can pay for this position.
Let's just advocate, there's no savings, okay? But we recognize we need the person, we're gonna hire the person, where do we legally get the funds from to pay the person?
It would be a budget amendment, and you would take it out of fund balance.
Okay, and that would be up to us to make that decision, but we do have the authority to do that. Okay.
I think that we recognize when we talked about hiring an IT person, we talked about, is this enough? Is this gonna cover it? Because from what I was seeing, how Shane and his backup was running from department to department, and I just didn't see how one person was gonna be capable of covering all of our needs, cause at any moment, just sitting there watching them do the work they do, they're steady answering calls and trying to, you know, it's overwhelming, I'm sure. So, I can see that need being there, you know, from Jump Street, so.
Greg weighed 240 when we hired him 6 months ago.
That's pretty close. Lost 15 pounds.
Judge,
Ma'am.
I would like to suggest that if it's at all possible, that we wait until the budget season for the 2019 budget to actually put somebody in that position.
Well,
If
yeah,
it's feasible.
I know you'd like to, but I would like to get somebody in there sooner than later.
Right.
That's just my comment, but I think Commissioner Walker, Commissioner Cox are probably on board with that.
I think there's a need as well.
So as long as it's understood that budget amendments are for emergency purposes, and if Commissioners Court decides that this is an emergency, then obviously you can, do that.
Mr. Foltz, what's our latitude in defining emergencies?
I would never go against the auditor. But I will tell you that I think that there is language that describes an unforeseen circumstance, and that would be a justification that you would have to make in the first place, and that the auditor would have to agree with in the second place. And obviously nobody wants to see a duel between the court and the auditor.
No.
But if you could justify, all of you, if you could justify, hey, we didn't know, we didn't see this crush or this amount. And I wanted to say, and it's not necessarily my place, but I have a vague recollection of the bids that we received from County Tech and the one other entity. I believe County Tech was somewhere in the neighborhood of $125,000 per year, and the other was in excess of that. And so we had the conversation, despite the fact that policy's not my thing, we had the conversation that at some point, the county was gonna have to, the court was gonna have to consider a department, because in my opinion, you could hire at least one person and maybe two with that money that you were paying to a consultant. And we don't have to disclose in this setting what Mr. Cannon's pay is, but I can tell you there's plenty of room yet to hire that second person. And you still have the issue of, is it part-time, is it full-time, all those things to consider. I want to say one other thing. There's not a whole lot that my staff, as numerous as they are, that my staff and I do that we have a lot of concern about that would be divulged to the Russians. I mean, there's some CPS information and juvenile information, but short of that, most of the strategy is in our heads, and probably her head, not mine. So Not all that concerned about that, but there's some HIPAA information, various other things that we would want to keep protected. But of course, we're subject to Public Information Act, and so most of what we have is public information. So I just didn't want there to be some hysteria about the Russians getting a hold of our information, because in all honesty, they sent an open records request, they could get it.
Well, we could charge her for the paper.
That's true, that's true, that's true.
Also, I think when we set this up, we didn't know what we were gonna find when we got an IT person. And Greg has definitely found a lot of issues that we've had and worked on and fixed a lot of them, but he's overwhelmed with them, and we've gotta move forward with this. And I don't wanna see him leave either.
Well, I think the simple question, and even Mr. Fultz, even though his strategy is mainly in his head, go unplug his computer. Who's he gonna call? He's gonna call IT to come plug it back in, maybe.
Yeah, I think 6 months would be way too long to wait to.
And this is another one of those cases like he talked about earlier about the silo almost. When that one person is out or gone, and God forbid, sometimes we do have unforeseen circumstances that we have no control over. Where is that, we have to wait, and some of our issues can't wait, so,
His mother passed away, and I finally had to tell him, get out of the office.
Right. Deepest sympathy too.
And on that note, if I could relate it as it's related to IT and also the previous discussion about the organizational chart, if you have numerous department heads and everyone's in charge and there's no oversight by anybody, it's problematic. And that the framers of the Constitution put us in this place where we have numerous elected officials and we're all lateral beings or entities. And so to the degree that any time that you can put in place some organizational structure that doesn't exist, where there's better oversight, I think there's going to be more effective and efficient delivery of services to the public, which is what the government is about. So to the degree that you can do that, and certainly do that here, having somebody else that is, for whom Mr. Cannon has oversight, I think it certainly would be beneficial. I would ask though, and I to tell me now, I was obviously not here for the last meeting, and I apologize for that, but I didn't hear the discussion of the organizational chart. My hope was that at some point we'll publish that, and everybody, especially when you have lack of continuity with new commissioners coming on board, hey, who's in charge of which of these departments? Is it the entire court that needs to do the evaluation of Mr. Cannon? Does Mr. Cannon do the evaluation of the person that potentially you all put in place here? Is there a liaison, as we talked about on the other item with Commissioner Walker, who goes out and finds out the information about what's going on a day-to-day basis, pops into the office, sees what Miss Lee's up to and whether she's doing the job or needs to be canned? I mean, that's really what needs to happen. That is what needs to happen.
You're right.
And if the court, if all of you are in charge, nobody's in charge.
That's
And
right.
that means in environmental or 911 or IT or HR, if nobody's going to check on these folks, you don't know whether they're doing what you want them to do, and they're subordinate to you as a court. So with that organizational chart, I mean, I guess I'm saying to myself, we need to be sure that you put in place your policy as to whether you want to just have liaisons from the court overseeing departments like IT, or whether you want to bring them in for a yearly evaluation. Ben Lamont obviously did that, started that. I hadn't seen that done before, that somebody would bring in the departments that are directly subordinate to the court for evaluations where they sit before you. How many permits did you issue? How many complaints did you receive? And in all honesty, I would think that would be a question of every department that's subordinate to you. How many complaints have you received about you or about your staff? And those kind of questions and things need to happen, and certainly they need to happen in IT, but I think having somebody that is subordinate to him obviously helps with the organizational structure. Just wanted to remind the court that we need to either appoint a liaison to oversee his department, or the court needs to, on a regular basis, evaluate his department, or what his department's doing.
We did lay out a chart and a plan and talked about who would do what, and I think you're gonna come out with the
individual department, Lucy's working,
Lucy.
Ms. Lopez.
There are a lot of counties, having searched the internet and
And-
Probably obtained some viruses. There are some counties that have good organizational charts that are out there.
And we have one as far as the county. I was discussing with him that we need to probably name that one liaisons and building maintenance and department overseers, whatever. But just not confuse the public in saying that, okay, we got this one organizational chart, but then when you look at the other one, it's all, So we did talk about that too, and you may have some input on that.
Yeah, I understand. I don't want to get too far off topic, but to me, it was somewhat related to the idea of bringing on new personnel.
What I would suggest, Mr. Cannon, is that, and I know you've been keeping track of it, or I've asked you to keep track of kind of the savings or the cost savings that you've made. Even the one example of the cost savings in the DA's office, what you're gonna, from when you started buying their cartridges to the end of the year, that was a $16,000 or $11,000 savings just in that one. So if you could, I don't want you to spend a whole lot of time on it, but rough put it together, we could provide that to the auditor so they do have some level of understanding of the value that you've saved or cost savings that you've rendered to the company, to the county, and we can move forward. But we need to go ahead and, in my opinion, move and make a decision. Do we allow him to proceed in hiring someone?
Well, and if I could offer something on
Please.
that, there needs to be a job description. You addressed that from the side of salary structure committee. There needs to be a job description, and I would think that needs to be in place as you're considering the hiring of somebody, maybe not before you authorize it, and maybe that's what you initiate today is Mr. Cannon come up with a job description, but you also need to consider the salary and the effective date of the employment. So all of those things seem to be up in the air. I would think that Mr. Cannon would be able to come up with all of that for the court pretty quickly. Question is, do you want to send him off to begin that work, or do you want to authorize the hiring of the employee today? From my standpoint, because his department is subordinate to you, you may very well want to see that job description before you say, let's start this position. And you give the auditor some time to run the numbers to see what the amount would be, what the load would be, what impact that would be on the budget.
Will you not resign within the next 2 weeks? Do you promise?
Promise I won't.
Okay, you couldn't be fired, but I don't want you to resign. How's that, John? Cover the base. All right, so within the next 2 weeks, then we'll present that job description prior to Commissioners Court. Commissioners, then we can review that and then make a decision at our next regular meeting to allow us to proceed in hiring that person or transferring them, whatever the case might be. Okay?
And I'm assuming that you want Mr. Cannon to provide his recommendation for salary or for the amount of pay to the auditor's office so they can run that number.
Well, once he puts the job description together, then the salary evaluation committee, he can give us some ideas of where he thinks they ought to be in the ballpark, but then the job evaluation committee would do a comparison of similar type jobs, even though there's no similar type jobs, but responsibility, authority, criticalness, and things of that sort, and then we can value that job. It also, in the 2 weeks, we might have an opportunity to check with a couple of other counties. Ms. Pope, maybe you could take charge of that if they have a help desk person or things of that sort to give us an idea.
That's perfect. Who does he need to deliver his recommendation and job description to? You?
I would prefer him to give it to me, and then I'll disperse it to the commissioner since he lives one wall away.
And also to the salary recommendation committee or whatever that committee is that you're referring to?
Yes, sir, we'll get it to them too. We'll try to have everything all tied up by
Look,
court.
if you don't want him to leave, I don't want him to leave either. And we got 2 weeks to get this thing done.
Yes, ma'am.
I will be going to a conference Tuesday through Friday of next week.
Okay.
Jessie is gonna be here. She hasn't decided yet if she's gonna come down on Wednesday for part of the conference, but Jessica Herrera is gonna be here as well.
Okay. Is that next week
Yeah.
or 2? Well, we're not gonna do much by next
Well,
week.
Jessica Herrera was on
The evaluation committee, right?
evaluation
Okay.
committee, so,
All right. We have your permission to use her.
yes.
Okay. All right. All right, so with all that action we've taken, I guess we'll take no action at this moment. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cannon. Were we good with that, commissioners? Okay. All right. We will now go to Agenda item number 21, review PGAL plans and budget. And I understand, Commissioner, they weren't quite ready for
They
that.
weren't quite ready, so I'd like to probably try to postpone that to 2 weeks.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, next week.
No.
No, can we put them on the regular meeting in 2 weeks?
Can we put it on a workshop? I think.
I was wanting to try to put it on a workshop,
All right.
maybe after our
I won't be in
meeting next
Washington,
week.
D.C. in 2 weeks.
We'll schedule it in a workshop. Okay.
For maybe, hopefully next Wednesday.
After we
is the best
adjourn, could you
availability.
visit with Sheree
Yes.
and myself, and we'll try to coordinate a date?
Yes,
Are you in
absolutely.
town next week, Mr. Cox? Commissioner?
Let's see. Check
I
your
will
busy
be,
you will
schedule.
be.
but I won't be the following week.
Gotcha.
That's, the second is what, the day
Yeah,
we're talking
that'll be
about?
the second, yeah.
The
Yeah.
second is a Wednesday?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so after this special meeting, then have a workshop scheduled for then? Would that work?
I thought I heard her say,
She's gonna be out.
is that May the 2nd that they're talking about? Because we really need some input from the auditors as far
Well,
as
as long as we
budget.
have, I guess, what fund balance we can use, if we have those numbers. I mean, this is basically presenting, PGAL presenting with us what their cost estimates are, what their, show the plans, show the square footage.
You'll have Jessica and Jesse here.
Yeah. So,
Well, Jesse may be in also.
well, like I said, if we just have the numbers of what we have in fund
Yeah.
balance, that's the numbers we're gonna, what our budget is.
Right, at least they can give us the information, and we can bring that back to you, and you can say, oh yeah, or oh no.
Yeah, but, I mean, there are some concerns because, when we originally started talking about this, there was just gonna be a covered tunnel, above ground tunnel for transporting the inmates from the jail to the building. And now there's been underground tunnels added and elevators added, and so that has concerned me because I know that's added a tremendous amount of money to the cost of this building.
And that's what we're gonna address on Wednesday.
If,
That's
if,
why I really
if we
wanted to be
could
here.
wait 2 weeks, I'd also like to see, someone here, I asked that question on the financing portion. I mean, we might as well look at a real picture, of if you go this way, you gotta do this, and if you don't, you're gonna have to do this, so that we can get the whole picture. And I'd asked her to invite,
Ben Rosenberg.
are some of the people who we've talked to in the past about options.
All right,
So-
well, let's,
I was gonna ask him, did PKL have, did they need to be here next week? I mean, could they wait 2 weeks?
Yeah, we could wait. I was just wanting to try to get it as quickly as possible to try to go over that. But yeah, I mean, we can reschedule.
If we could wait, then we could get in touch with everybody we need to have here to really kind of wrap our heads around what's really going on.
is it good for us to have them here all at one time? I mean,
Well, you're talking about budget,
well, I understand.
but
I mean,
Well, I mean, like I said, PGL can present the numbers they've got right now with the current square footage, with the
It's up to
current
y'all,
layout, with
whatever
the
you wanna
current
do.
elevators, and just, here's what it is right now, and then we could say that's too much, we can steer them in a different direction. I think the longer we put off PGAL, the longer it puts it back for design, so.
Okay, that's what I was
The main thing is, here's what, I think if we get numbers from PGL, then we can kinda go forth, well, do we wanna finance, do we wanna
What day
spend
do
fund
you
balance,
leave?
do we want to?
you're gone the entire week?
I'll leave Tuesday morning.
And those were their days, I think, Tuesday morning or Wednesday. So, that was,
Are they available
Next week.
Tuesday morning?
but that's when she's leaving anyway, so,
Oh, okay.
yeah. But that's what they said was, so, Wednesday, we were all gonna be here anyway. I figured it'd be better, easier for Commissioners Court
I
to.
could leave as late as 10:30 on Tuesday and still get there for my 1 o'clock class.
But like I said, if we, delay too much, then
Yeah, we're pushing it back.
keep pushing PJL, because if we wanna steer them in the right direction, we definitely need to be on top of it. And change directions if we need to change directions based on what
Well,
current budget is.
if they could be here Tuesday,
Well, 10:30, I mean, how long of a meeting
Oh,
are we gonna
okay,
have, you know?
okay.
Before,
Well, we could start at 8.
well, some of our meetings go a lot longer than that too. So,
I know.
It's whatever you can work
Yeah,
out.
like I said, if that's the case with the other, we'll have to meet with other people to figure out what, but I think the main thing is getting that information from PJL, what the cost is.
Get their
Based on
data.
what their
We have
current,
that,
what our
and then we
current
can always
layout is.
Present that to auditing.
Yeah.
And then go, you know, yeah, that's, you know, if they're not in the ballpark, if they're in the
Well, if
ballpark,
you'll
and we can
record
tweak.
the meeting, then I can watch it.
We'll record the meeting. Right, Sheree?
Yeah, we record all the workshops and everything, right?
Yeah, we do, all of them. I can turn you on, turn you off right here. So, you're gonna try to set it up
So
for,
for Wednesday, say 9:30,
okay,
cause usually our special
Specials
meetings
go
are.
quick, that's fine.
Go quicker.
and then we'll take notes, and Jesse, would you be available, do you think? Or you were
Yes.
talking about going on Wednesday?
Jessica or I will be. So
Okay, all right.
maybe one of us,
Okay,
or both.
let's plan on that then.
Okay.
So we'll take no action, because there's nothing to review. That would bring us to agenda item number 22.
I
Make
move we
the-
adjourn.
I second.
There is a motion before the court by Commissioner Dobianski to adjourn. There's a second by Commissioner Walker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, we need to get some signatures on proclamation.